The day the Galorans came was supposed to be historic. Peace talks, unity, a handshake across the stars. That's what they said on every damn news channel. The whole world held its breath, watching as their sleek, silver behemoth of a ship hovered over Earth like a cosmic middle finger. I remember standing there in my cheap military uniform, feeling like an extra in a bad sci-fi flick. The air smelled of ozone and political bullshit. They made us line up, shoulders squared, like our rust-bucket tanks and steel-boned aircraft meant something next to their floating palaces. And then they laughed. Not a subtle chuckle. No, these blue-skinned bastards had the gall to broadcast their mockery on every screen, every device, across the planet. Primitive combustion engines? Mechanical projectile weapons? How quaint! The Galoran diplomat sneered, his voice slithering through the translators. We admire your stubbornness. Stubbornness. That was their polite word for stupid, and we all knew it. The politicians smiled like idiots. They still believed in diplomacy. They didn't see what the soldiers saw. The Galorans weren't here to shake hands. They were here to measure the size of their boots before stomping on our necks. I clenched my fists. Beside me, Sergeant Kim muttered under her breath, "They think we're ants." Guess they forgot ants bite. But what could we do? Their ships could swat satellites out of orbit like flies. Their weapons didn't fire bullets. They bent reality itself. And us? We still used good old-fashioned gunpowder. That's when the project director appeared. A ghost of a man. Dr. Henry Voss. His name had been whispered in black sites and underground labs for years. He walked right up to the Galoran envoy. No military pomp, no politicians in tow. Just a data tablet in his hand and a grin that didn't reach his eyes. "I heard you're fond of demonstrations," Voss said, his voice calm, but every word dripped with something cold. The Galoran's tendrils quivered, amused. "Indeed. Show us what your species can do, Doctor." "Voss." He tapped the screen. Far out, beneath the waves of the Mariana Trench, a slumbering giant stirred. It had no sleek curves, no shimmering alloys. It was ugly, brutal, a testament to human stubbornness and spite. The Leviathan. It wasn't a ship. It wasn't even a weapon by their standards. It was a walking middle finger to every alien species that ever looked down on us. As the ocean boiled and parted, the world saw it for the first time. A metal monstrosity, born from the bones of scrapped submarines, salvaged battleships, and classified tech so illegal it didn't have a name. The Leviathan roared. It wasn't a sound of advanced sonic warfare. No, it was raw, animalistic, like steel grinding against reality itself. The Galorans stopped laughing. "Allow me to return the favor," Voss said, eyes gleaming. "Let me show you what primitive rage looks like." And with a simple swipe, the Leviathan moved. It didn't glide or hover. It stomped. Every step shattered water into steam, every movement a thunderclap. No finesse, no elegance, just overwhelming force. In that moment, humanity remembered something the Galorans had forgotten. You don't need to bend space-time to break bones. The Leviathan's first strike wasn't elegant. It didn't fire sleek energy beams or precision-targeted missiles. No, it raised a colossal arm, stitched together from battleship armor and deep-sea mining rigs, and slammed it straight into the ocean's surface. The resulting shockwave wasn't some sci-fi pulse. It was pure, blunt-force trauma to the planet itself. Tsunamis rippled outward, battering the Galoran landing crafts that floated smugly near our coasts. Their energy shields flickered. For the first time we saw cracks in their perfect technology. Up above, their mothership hung in the sky, still, watching. Voss didn't even look up. "Oh, don't worry. That was just a handshake." The Leviathan marched forward, the seabed trembling beneath its titanic weight. Each step was a message. We don't play by your rules. Galoran drones swarmed from the ships, sleek and humming with energy weapons far beyond our own. They zipped towards the Leviathan like angry hornets. And then humanity pulled its second card. Mag-rail cannons, ugly, slow, but devastating. They had been dismissed as obsolete in every UN military summit. Turns out, when you fire a 10-ton slug of tungsten at Mach 20, even advanced alien alloys beg for mercy. The first drone exploded into a fireball of molten alien metal. Then the second. Then the sky was lit with the funeral pyres of Galoran arrogance. But they kept coming. Voss didn't flinch. He knew what was next. The Leviathan's chest opened with a groaning hiss, revealing a core so bright it hurt to look at. Not plasma, not dark energy, nothing fancy. It was a nuclear reactor, feeding into an electromagnetic rail that crackled with barely contained fury. They called it the Earthbreaker. Galoran shields, designed to deflect coherent energy beams, had no answer to a solid steel rod accelerated to hypersonic speeds. Their design assumed precision. Humanity gave them brute force. One shot. That's all it took. A Galoran frigate, sleek and smug in its superiority, was split in two, not vaporized, not disintegrated, just brutally torn apart. The screams of the Galoran command echoed through open channels. What is this monstrosity? This abomination of engineering? Voss smiled thinly. You mocked our toys, forgot that even sticks and stones can crack a skull. From the trenches, every soldier who had ever felt powerless against these so-called superior beings cheered. The world watched as the impossible happened. Humanity had drawn blood. But the Galorans were not cowards. Their pride was now a bleeding wound, and wounded pride is dangerous. Above, the mothership's underbelly shifted. Panels slid open, revealing something far more sinister. An annihilation lance. It was overkill, designed to wipe entire cities off the map. A statement of dominance. But that's the thing about statements. Humanity loves to interrupt. Activate the bastion net, Voss ordered. From hidden silos, hundreds of crude satellites powered up, forming a web of overlapping magnetic fields. It was ugly, inefficient, and dangerous even to us. But it worked. The lance fired. A beam of white-hot annihilation speared towards Earth, only to shatter against the bastion net, scattering into harmless fragments of light. The world held its breath. Then Voss, with the calm of a man playing his final card, tapped his tablet again. The Leviathan's right arm shifted, unveiling the harpoon. Not a missile, not a laser, just a massive goddamn harpoon the size of a skyscraper, designed to puncture, tear, and drag. Let's see how well you fly when we bring you down to our level, Voss murmured. The harpoon fired. It was slow, by alien standards, clumsy, but relentless. And when it struck the mothership, embedding deep into its pristine hull, you could hear the silence on the Galoran channels. For the first time, they realized they were in a fight, not with equals, not with advanced foes, but with a species too damn stubborn to bow. The mothership groaned as the harpoon's industrial chains snapped tight. The sound wasn't mechanical, it was alive. A deep guttural screech that echoed across the sky, as if the planet itself was laughing at them. Brace yourselves, Voss said quietly. His fingers danced across the tablet, feeding fresh commands into the Leviathan's ancient, repurposed AI. Nothing fancy. No quantum cores, just raw human engineering stacked on top of desperation and spite. The Leviathan pulled. With a roar that made the oceans churn, it heaved backward, dragging the mighty Galoran mothership downwards, inch by agonizing inch. The laws of physics didn't care about technological arrogance. Mass, force, leverage, those still mattered. Galoran pilots scrambled, Emergency thrusters ignited, shields flared. But the harpoon's grip didn't loosen. The chains, forged from old asteroid mining tethers, held firm. On open channels, the Galoran commanders screeched, "Unacceptable! Release us at once! You violate interstellar accords." Voss, ever the gentleman, replied with a smirk, "Oh, we're well past the paperwork phase, don't you think?" From the command tent, global leaders watched in stunned silence. Months ago, they had scoffed at the Leviathan project, called it a waste of resources, too crude, too primitive. Now it was doing what their best diplomats and their most advanced allies couldn't, bringing gods down to Earth. The mothership's descent was slow, but inevitable, like watching a skyscraper sink in molasses. But the damage was mounting. Hull stress alarms screamed. External plating buckled. And the Galorans knew it. Desperation breeds recklessness. Suddenly, hundreds of Galoran drop pods launched from the mothership's flanks. Compact, armored, each carrying elite ground troops. They thought boots on the ground would shift the tide. Poor bastards. They didn't expect the Iron Wall contingent. That's when humanity revealed its third card. Out of hangars and bunkers long hidden under urban sprawls, Ironwalkers stomped into the light. Massive exosuits, powered by crude fission reactors, ugly as sin. Piloted by veterans who had spent their lives preparing for this exact moment. Sergeant Kim was one of them. "I got eyes on bugs dropping from the sky," she radioed in, her voice crackling with anticipation. "Permission to squash?" Voss didn't even blink. "Flatten them." The first wave of Galoran troops hit the ground, sleek plasma rifles glowing. They were fast, precise, deadly. And then the Ironwalkers charged. No stealth, no fancy maneuvers. Just 30 tons of armored fury barreling forward, hurling tungsten-tipped javelins, laying down bursts of autocannon fire that turned alien infantry into pulp. Galoran weapons scored hits, burning scars into the walkers' plating. But humans had designed these suits with one principle. Take a hit, give back 10. The battlefield turned brutal. No laser swords, no elegant dances of combat. Just metal fists meeting alien bone. Joints snapped, carapaces caved in. Kim's walker grabbed a Galoran trooper, lifted him high, and crushed him against a concrete wall. The sound was satisfying. "This is for calling us quaint," she snarled. All across the front lines, similar scenes played out. What the Galorans hadn't realized was that humans had been fighting dirty, bloody wars long before they ever reached for the stars. The ground war wasn't a clash of civilizations, it was a brawl. And in a brawl, humans excel. Up above, the Leviathan kept dragging. Chains groaned, metal screamed. The mothership's lower hull began to tear, a slow, deliberate wound opening across its flank. Fires bloomed, emergency lights flashed, and then, for the first time, a Galoran commander's voice trembled across the broadcast. "Cease! We request terms of surrender!" The air in the command tent froze. Humanity had been laughed at, mocked, dismissed as backward, inferior, a primitive species playing at war. Now, the so-called superior race was begging for mercy. Voss looked up, his expression unreadable. "Oh, we'll talk terms," he said softly. "But first, kneel." And with a final pull, the Leviathan yanked the mothership down, forcing it to hover barely meters above the ocean's surface. No longer a symbol of untouchable might. Now, just another target within reach. For a moment, time seemed to hold its breath. The Galoran mothership, once a floating fortress of arrogance, now dangled just above the churning ocean, pinned down by chains of human steel. Its pristine hull dripped smoke and plasma, the once flawless surface marred by humanity's brute force reminder. Welcome to our level. Inside the command tent, no one spoke. Not the generals, not the politicians. not the analysts who had once scoffed at the Leviathan project. They watched as history rewrote itself in real time, line by bloody line. Voss stood still, his hand hovering over the tablet. His voice cut through the tension like a scalpel. "Patch me through to their bridge." The comms officer, her hands trembling, nodded. A moment later, the image of High Executor Salvok flickered to life. His once imperious posture had wilted. His ceremonial armor was scorched. The confident sneer had been replaced by something far more human. Fear. "Human, this escalation is unacceptable. You are jeopardizing fragile alliances. Galactic law forbids—" "Stop." Voss's tone was clinical. "You mocked us. You spat on centuries of struggle because your scanners told you we were primitive. But here's the thing, Executor. You measured our weapons. You never measured our hatred." The silence that followed wasn't empty. It was heavy, full of every insult, every slight, every treaty where humanity had been treated like the galaxy's ignorant child. Voss tapped again. On the Leviathan's back, long-forgotten silos hissed open. What emerged wasn't sleek. It was horrifying. Cluster bombards, massive rocket batteries designed not for precision, but for saturation. Firepower meant to turn battlefields into glass. The message was clear. Surrender was on the table. But humanity had other options. Sergeant Kim's voice crackled through the comms. "Sir, frontline's holding, but the grunts are getting bold. They're regrouping. Might be time for a message." Voss nodded. "Give them one." Down below, Kim's Ironwalker pivoted. Its arm-mounted grenade launcher spun up with a whining growl. She aimed straight at a pocket of Galoran elites trying to form a counter-offensive near the coastline. One trigger pull. That's all it took. The explosion was visceral. Shrapnel, concrete, and Galoran bodies flung into the air. No energy shields, no force fields, just the simple, brutal effectiveness of high explosives. The Galoran advance evaporated in a cloud of smoke and screams. On the broadcast, Salvok flinched. "This is the part you don't understand, Executor," Voss said, voice cold as iron. "Your wars are sterile, clinical. You've forgotten what it feels like to bleed. We haven't, and we don't care how many of your kind we need to remind." In orbit, the surviving Galoran fleet watched helplessly. To intervene meant descending into the Leviathan's kill zone. To flee meant disgrace. Every second was a tightening noose. Finally, Salvok's composure shattered. "Enough. We concede the theater. Immediate ceasefire. We request evacuation under neutral terms." Voss tilted his head. He could have agreed. Could have been the bigger man. But humanity had learned its lessons. Number U came to our home. You insulted us. You bled us. You will not leave unpunished. His next command wasn't barked. It was whispered. "Fire them all." From the Leviathan's undercarriage, a secondary weapon deployed. Cruder than the harpoon. A battering ram designed to breach orbital stations. Simple physics, wrapped in hateful engineering. It struck the mothership's lower deck with devastating force. The Galoran ship didn't explode. It crumpled, like a tin can under a boot. Fires blossomed, alarms wailed, and still the mothership hovered. Barely. Its pride shattered, its forces scattered. Now Voss leaned in close to the screen. "Kneel, or we finish what we started." Salvok didn't argue. Slowly, agonizingly, the mothership's repulsors deactivated. The colossal ship descended, kissing the ocean surface. A symbol of galactic superiority brought face down into the dirt. Cheers erupted from every human soldier, every bunker, every screen across the world. For the first time in recorded history, humanity had made an empire kneel. And we weren't done yet. The world roared in celebration, but down on the front lines, no one was smiling. Not yet. Sergeant Kim wiped blood and ash from her visor. Around her, the remains of the Galoran vanguard smoldered. The ground was littered with twisted exosuits, alien weapons, and bodies, both theirs and ours. Victory, yes, but it didn't feel clean. War never does. Sir, Galoran signals are dropping. They're pulling back to defensive formations. Kim reported, her Ironwalker's servos whining as she turned toward the ruined coastline. Voss's voice came through, calm but sharp. Let them dig their holes. We're not finished. Up above, the mothership sagged in defeat, half submerged, lights flickering like the dying breath of a wounded beast. Its surrender wasn't enough. Not for the soldiers who had buried friends under alien fire. Not for the families who had watched helplessly as their cities were belittled by off-world diplomats. No, humanity wanted something more than an apology. We wanted justice. In the Global Command Center, diplomats begged for ceasefires, pushing for negotiations. But their words were drowned out by the steady chant rising from the ground forces. Make them pay. Voss wasn't a politician. He was a scientist. He dealt in results, not rhetoric. Deploy the reclaimers, he ordered. Across the battered battlefields, massive transports rumbled into motion. Unlike the Leviathan, these machines weren't designed to fight. They were designed to strip. The reclaimers were industrial salvage rigs, built to tear apart derelict ships, mine asteroid carcasses, and rip valuable tech from dead machines. Now their claws and plasma cutters turned towards the living carcass of the Galoran mothership. The Galorans protested. You cannot desecrate a vessel of the Federation. This is sacrilege. Salvok's shrill cries echoed uselessly. Voss only smiled. Consider it back pay. The reclaimers latched onto the mothership's hull, tearing away panels of precious alien alloys, ripping out weapon systems, exposing vulnerable understructures. What had once been a symbol of galactic dominance was now being stripped for scrap in front of the entire galaxy. And the best part? We streamed it live. Millions watched as human engineers, welders, and scavengers climbed over the crippled ship, laughing as they yanked out tech that had been considered centuries beyond our reach. One of the broadcasts went viral, an old dock worker holding up a freshly ripped Galoran plasma coil and grinning like a child. Not so advanced now, huh? Guess you never met a Union crew behind on rent. The humiliation wasn't strategic. It was personal. While the reclaimers worked, the Leviathan stood sentinel, its battered frame looming over the operation like an ancient god of war. Scorched, dented, but undefeated. Sergeant Kim walked alongside the salvage crews, her Ironwalker towering above them. We should scuttle the whole damn thing, she muttered. Voss replied, Not yet. Let them watch. Let every species out there see what happens when you poke the bear. And they did watch. Every colony, every outpost, every arrogant council chamber that had once dismissed Earth as a backwater dirtball. Now they saw us as we truly were, relentless, vengeful, human. But Voss wasn't finished. He turned back to the comms officer. Open a channel, all galactic frequencies. The broadcast went live. His face filled the screens across the galaxy. No grand speech, no declarations of war, just one simple statement. Earth is not your playground. Next time you come here looking down on us, remember today. Remember the Leviathan. He didn't have to threaten them. The wreckage spoke for itself. As the last of the mothership's power cores were ripped free, the Galoran forces, disarmed and broken, were allowed to retreat. On foot, through the mud, without their ships, without their pride. A long, humiliating march of shame. Humanity had won not just the battle, but the narrative. For once, we weren't the underdogs. We were the monsters under the bed. The galaxy didn't take long to react. Barely a day had passed since the Galoran mothership had been reduced to scrap metal and public humiliation. But the ripple effects hit faster than any weapon we'd ever built. In the sprawling citadels of the Galactic Federation, the mood was a cocktail of shock, fear, and thinly veiled rage. For centuries, Earth had been a curiosity, a primitive outpost, a noisy, reckless child stumbling into interstellar politics. Tolerated, but never respected. That changed the moment they saw the Leviathan rip a Federation warship out of the sky like it was made of cardboard. Emergency sessions were called. Panicked delegates from core worlds argued over the human problem. Some demanded sanctions, others whispered of war, but most just sat in stunned silence, re-watching the footage as Earth's salvage crews cheerfully gutted the pride of the Federation for parts. It wasn't just military embarrassment, it was a cultural insult. "We gave them access to galactic trade," spat the Vordak's ambassador, his mandibles clicking furiously. "We allowed them to sit at our table, and this is how they repay us? By dragging a Federation flagship through the mud?" Others weren't so quick to condemn. In the shadowy corners of the Outer Rim, the pirate clans and fringe colonies saw something else: opportunity. For years, they'd been crushed under the Federation's boot, forced to obey the same arrogant overlords who now limped away from Earth with their tails between their legs. Whispers spread like wildfire. If Earth can make the Federation kneel, maybe it's time to reconsider the balance of power. Back on Earth, Voss wasn't celebrating. He knew this wasn't the end. He stood alone on the Leviathan's upper deck, staring out over the ruined coastline. Salvage crews were still working. Engineers were already theorizing how to reverse engineer the Galoran tech. But Voss's mind was elsewhere. "They're going to come back," he said quietly. Sergeant Kim climbed up beside him, her exosuit covered in soot and blood. "Damn right they are, and when they do, they'll bring friends." Voss nodded. "Let them." In secret bunkers across the planet, new projects spun up. The Bastion net had held, barely. The Earthbreaker had worked, but only because the Galorans hadn't seen it coming. Next time, they'd be ready. So would we. But what no one had expected was the message. A tight beam transmission, encrypted, untraceable. It didn't come from the Federation, it came from the Androthi conglomerate, an isolationist superpower that had always kept its distance. The message was simple. "We admire what you did. The Federation has grown soft. We wish to discuss an alliance." Voss's eyes narrowed. It wasn't friendship they were offering. It was pragmatism. They saw humanity for what we were now. A weapon. And weapons are valuable. Within hours, more messages poured in. The Kataran merchant guilds, the rogue AI enclaves of Sigma-9, even the enigmatic Enshai, who had never before contacted Earth. Suddenly, the galactic tables were turning. For the first time, they needed us. But not everyone welcomed this shift. Federation fleets regrouped. War games were accelerated. Propaganda broadcasts painted humanity as savages, a dangerous anomaly that needed to be contained. They spoke of peace while stockpiling weapons. And Earth? We smiled because we knew the truth. You don't mock the underdog and expect it to stay down. In every factory, every research lab, the next generation of Leviathans was already taking shape. Bigger, stronger, meaner. But Voss understood something the others didn't. "Next time they won't underestimate us," he said. Kim grinned, clapping a hand on his shoulder. "Good, makes the fight more interesting." As the sun set over a battered Earth, the planet braced itself. We had bled for respect. We had made the galaxy watch, and now we were no longer asking for a seat at the table. We were building our own damn table, and this time everyone was invited, whether they liked it or not. The days that followed were a blur of movement. Treaties, backroom deals, encrypted comms. Every power in the galaxy suddenly remembered Earth's number. Voss found himself at the center of a storm, not of missiles and plasma bolts this time, but of politics. And it was ugly. The Androthi sent their envoys first. Cold, efficient, dressed in black synthesis suits that rippled with reactive armor. Their offer was clear: mutual defense pacts, joint weapons research, access to hyperlane technology. But Voss wasn't naive. "You want to arm us so we'll bleed for you next time the Federation knocks on your door," he said bluntly. The Androthi didn't deny it. Others followed. The Kataran guildmasters, with their gold-laced trade agreements. Sigma-9's rogue AIs, offering data streams of forbidden tech in exchange for favorable cooperation. Even the enigmatic HFY whispered promises of psionic enhancements, their voices a chorus of minds pressed against Voss's skull. Earth had gone from galactic joke to kingmaker overnight. But the Federation wasn't sitting idle. Their fleets, though bruised, regrouped in orbit around core worlds. War factories churned out new dreadnoughts. Black Ops teams attempted to sabotage Earth's growing alliances. Their media channels flooded with propaganda, painting humans as barbarians, a rogue species infected with violent independence. They called it containment. We called it Round 2. Sergeant Kim led counterintelligence raids against Federation operatives. No more playing defense. Every cell they found was broadcast live. Hooded agents dragged into the open, forced to confess Federation plots on camera. It wasn't clean warfare. It was psychological demolition. The galaxy watched as Earth exposed every dirty Federation secret, one by one. Slave colonies rebranded as probationary systems. Corporate-sanctioned famines on fringe worlds. Quiet genocides swept under bureaucratic rugs. For the first time, the Federation's iron grip slipped. But pressure builds, and desperate powers make desperate moves. The Federation launched Operation Clean Sweep, a preemptive strike. Not on Earth's military assets, too risky now, but on her alliances. Androthi outposts were hit with viral payloads, crippling their AI infrastructure. Kataran trading convoys were ambushed in deep space. On Sigma-9, rogue AI cores were forcibly wiped by Federation kill swarms. It was a message. Earth would be isolated. Or so they thought, because this time we didn't wait for the fight to come to us. Voss unveiled Project Iron Curtain, an alliance of necessity. Humans, Androthi engineers, Kataran merchants, Sigma-9's surviving AIs, even a few rogue HFY psionics, all working under one banner. Not a federation, not an empire. Something worse, an axis of the outcasts. What they call primitive, we call reliable. Voss said, addressing the new coalition. They laugh at our machines. They forgot it's not the tool that matters, it's the hand that wields it. In orbit, the Leviathan floated beside the first prototype of its successor, Leviathan Prime. Bigger, smarter, meaner. Built not just from Earth's steel, but hybridized with salvaged Federation tech and Androthi combat algorithms. Where the original Leviathan had been brute force, Prime was calculated destruction. The message was clear. Humanity wasn't playing catch-up anymore. We were innovating. And for every action, there's a reaction. The Federation declared Earth an anomalous threat class, authorizing unrestricted warfare. It was official. The galaxy was going to war. But this time, humanity wasn't alone. The axis of the outcasts mobilized. Old grudges found new unity. Species long ignored by the Federation rallied under Earth's banner, not out of loyalty, but because we'd done the one thing no one else dared. We made the gods bleed. In the war councils, Voss stood before the coalition. His words weren't wrapped in diplomacy. They were honest. They want a war of annihilation. Good, let them try. But remember this, we don't have to beat them at their game. We just have to break their will. Kim, standing beside him, cracked her knuckles. We'll do it the old-fashioned way, one shattered fleet at a time. As the fleets of the Axis prepared to strike, the Leviathan Prime roared its awakening cry. This wasn't about Earth anymore. It was about reminding the galaxy what happens when you underestimate the human race. And this time, we weren't going to stop at making them kneel. We were going to make them crawl. The day the Axis struck was burned into galactic history. No more hit-and-run skirmishes. No more quiet sabotage. This time, Earth led a coalition of the ignored, the underestimated, and the downright pissed off into the Federation's heartland. Operation Iron Fist. From the moment Leviathan Prime breached the hypershield perimeter of the Federation's core worlds, the message was clear. No more negotiations. The Federation's fleets met us head-on, thousands of warships arranged in flawless formation. Gleaming, arrogant, confident that this time they'd crush humanity and her ragtag allies beneath superior firepower and ancient strategy. But they still hadn't learned. "Begin acceleration," Voss ordered. Leviathan Prime surged forward, not with delicate maneuvers or evasive patterns, but with raw, calculated aggression. Shield arrays shimmered as Federation plasma lances battered its hull, but this wasn't the brittle armor of Earth's past. This was composite plating fused with Galoran alloys and Androthi reactive matrices. For every shot they landed, Prime took 5 more steps. And then we returned fire. No energy beams, no exotic weaponry, kinetic rods, massive hyperdense projectiles accelerated to relativistic speeds. They didn't sizzle, they didn't glow, they simply obliterated. Federation cruisers vanished under the impact, reduced to expanding clouds of twisted debris. Their formations faltered, their precision turned to chaos. In the midst of this storm, Earth's allies joined the fray. Kataran assault skiffs, smaller but faster, weaved between Federation destroyers, delivering pinpoint strikes to critical systems. Sigma-9's AI-controlled drone swarms descended like a metal plague, bypassing shields, infecting ship systems, turning their own weapons against them. Even the psionic Enshai unleashed their terror. Federation crews screamed as their minds fractured, collapsing under invisible assaults that left ships drifting, helpless. On every channel, the Federation's tone shifted. From superiority to panic to desperation. Voss watched the battle unfold with cold detachment. "They still don't understand. It's not about the technology. It's about how far you're willing to go." The Leviathan Prime's primary weapon, codenamed the Maul, charged to full capacity. Unlike the Earthbreaker, this wasn't just brute force. This was engineered vengeance. The Maul unleashed a gravitational shear, a focused directional anomaly that didn't explode targets, but crushed them into themselves. A Federation battleship caught in its path imploded, folding like wet paper, its screams of metal twisting into oblivion. The tide turned. For every Federation vessel that remained, 5 more burned. The once impervious fleet scattered, splintering into chaotic retreats. But Earth wasn't chasing glory. We were sending a message. Voss opened a broadcast. No encryption, no filters. "From this moment on, Earth is sovereign. The Federation will no longer dictate our future. To those who wish to trade, to learn, to coexist, we welcome you. But to those who would rule us—" He paused as the camera panned to Leviathan Prime, looming over the Federation capital shipyards. "We are not afraid of gods." With one final command, the Maul fired again. The Federation's main shipyard, centuries in the making, vanished into a singularity of crumpled metal and screaming alarms. The galaxy watched as the Federation's grip shattered. In the aftermath, old alliances crumbled. Border worlds seceded. Former client species rose up, emboldened by Earth's defiance. The Federation wasn't destroyed. It was broken. And humanity? We didn't claim an empire. We didn't crown ourselves rulers. We simply stood our ground. Back on Earth, as the celebrations roared, Voss and Kim stood atop Leviathan Prime. "Do you think they'll ever come back?" Kim asked, gazing up at the stars. Voss smiled, a rare, genuine smile. Maybe. But next time, they'll come with respect, or they won't come at all. The galaxy had learned its lesson. Humanity wasn't primitive. Humanity was relentless. And from that day forward, every map, every history lesson, every whispered council meeting would remember what happened when the Federation mocked a species too stubborn to kneel. They unleashed the Leviathan. And the Leviathan never forgets.